Every couple has their origin story. Ours was in a box. After my grandfather passed, he left me his old house and everything in it. In the attic, I found his treasure, a heavy wooden chest filled with decades of our family's history. Old Super 8 film reels, dusty photo albums, shoeboxes full of negatives. Ben and I spent a weekend just falling into the past, seeing my grandparents' wedding, my father's first steps. It felt sacred, like holding a box of captured light. I decided to take on the project of digitizing it all, of preserving these ghosts for the future. I bought a high-end scanner, a film converter. I was so excited to be the archivist of my own family's joy. I had no idea that some memories are better left to fade, and that in that box of captured light, something else, something dark, had been sleeping for a very, very long time. The first anomaly was small. I was digitizing an old Super 8 film from a family picnic in the 70s. As I watched the raw footage, I saw a glitch. For a single, flickering frame, a figure appeared in the background of the shot, standing by the edge of the woods. It was a tall, unnaturally thin man in a dark suit, but his face, it was just a smooth, white, featureless blank. I rewound the footage, my heart suddenly cold. I played it again. Nothing. The glitch was gone. The film played perfectly. I told myself it was a chemical flare on the old film stock, a trick of the light. But the image was burned into my mind. The blank man. He didn't belong in my family's happy memory. It felt like a predator, standing at the edge of the herd, just watching. A few days later, I was scanning old photographs. I came across a beautiful, candid shot of my grandparents, sitting on their porch swing, laughing. I remembered the photo from my childhood, but it was wrong. I remembered there was someone else in the photo, sitting between them. My great-uncle, Robert. But he wasn't there. There was just an empty, awkward space between them on the swing. The composition was all wrong. I found the original negative. Holding it up to the light, I could see it. Not an empty space, but a strange, human-shaped blur, a distorted smudge where a person should be. As if someone had taken a chemical solvent and just wiped him from the emulsion, wiped him from the memory. It wasn't that he was missing. It was that he had been actively, maliciously erased. The haunting became auditory. The old film reels, even when they weren't in the projector, would begin to whisper, a faint, dry, rustling sound from the corner of the room where the box was stored. And my speakers, when I was digitizing the audio from the old tapes, would pick up a strange interference. Deep beneath the crackle of the old recordings, there was a voice, a cold, detached, and sibilant whisper. It wasn't threatening, it was editorial. Incorrect composition, it would hiss. Redundant subject, remove, refine, erase. It was the voice of a cosmic editor, a critic of memory. And it was becoming clear that this entity wasn't just a passive observer. It had a purpose, a terrifying, curatorial purpose. It was improving my family's history, one forgotten relative at a time. I became obsessed with my great-uncle Robert, the man who had been erased. I asked my mother about him. Her brow furrowed. Robert. She'd say, I don't think we have a Robert in the family. She had no memory of him. None. It was like he had never existed. I was the only one who remembered him, and my own memory was starting to fade. I could no longer picture his face clearly. His name started to feel strange and foreign in my mouth. The ghost wasn't just editing the photos. It was editing reality. It was a parasite that fed on memory, and once it had consumed a person from the record, It began to consume them from the minds of the living. I was in a race against a supernatural archivist that was deleting my family, one soul at a time. Then he chose his next subject, me. I was digitizing our own wedding video. It was a beautiful, happy day. As I watched us say our vows, the glitch happened. For a single frame, standing behind the officiant, was the blank man. I felt an icy dread wash over me. I immediately went to our physical wedding album. I flipped to the page with our main portrait, and my heart stopped. In the photo, Ben was smiling beautifully at the camera, but my face, was starting to blur. It wasn't a printing error. It was a faint, subtle, but undeniable distortion, as if my own features were beginning to dissolve, to lose their definition. He was starting the process. The slow, methodical erasure. He was editing me out of my own life. The world began to forget me. I'd call a friend, and they'd be confused, asking who I was. I'd go to my regular coffee shop, and the barista who had known me for years would look at me with the blank, polite stare of a stranger. My own reflection was becoming harder to see, a faint, watery image in the mirror. The worst was Ben. He would look at me, and I could see the confusion in his eyes. He still loved me, but the memory of me was becoming a ghost in his own mind. He would call me by the wrong name. He would forget our inside jokes. One morning, I saw him looking at our wedding photo, his brow furrowed. "That's funny," he said, his voice distant. "I don't remember who the other groom was. He was looking right at me, and he couldn't see me anymore." I had to find the source. I went back to the attic, back to the wooden chest. At the very bottom, under a false panel, I found a single, small, tin box. Inside was a daguerreotype photograph from the 1880s. It showed two men, dressed as professional photographers, standing next to a large, primitive camera. One was my great-great-grandfather. The other was a tall, thin man in a dark suit, with a smooth, blank, featureless face. And there was a letter. It was from my ancestor. He confessed that he and his partner had created a new, experimental photographic process, one that didn't just capture light, but captured the essence of a soul. During the process, an accident happened. The partner was absorbed by the camera, trapped. He had become a ghost in the machine, a spirit of pure editorial nothingness. My ancestor, terrified, had locked the camera and all its terrible creations in the chest. He had created the monster. I had the answer. The blank man, the editor, wasn't just a ghost. He was the camera, a sentient, predatory piece of technology that refined its own creations. And I knew what I had to do. Not to save myself, it was too late for that, but to save Ben, to save him from a lifetime of being haunted by a man he couldn't remember. I took every photo, every negative, every film reel, everything that held an image of me. I piled them in the old, stone fireplace, and I set them on fire. As the images of my life, my childhood, my wedding, my love, curled into black ash, I felt myself becoming lighter. My own reflection in the window faded completely. The ghost had nothing left to edit. It had no more images of me to consume. I was deleting myself to protect the one memory that mattered, Ben's. My name is Alex, I think. The memories are thin, like old paper. I live here now, in the quiet spaces of the house. A cold spot in the hallway, a faint whisper on an old audio tape. I watch Ben. He is happy. He thinks he's a widower, that I died years ago in an accident he can't quite remember. His memory of me is perfect now, unchanging, unfading, because there is no new data to corrupt it. The editor is silent. I took away its source material. It cannot erase what no longer exists. Last night, Ben was looking at the one photo I left him, a picture of just himself, smiling, on our wedding day. He looked sad. "I wish I could remember your face," he whispered to the empty air. And I whispered back, from the static between worlds, "It's better this way. It's safer. I am a story with the final page torn out. A perfect final and completely safe edition."